Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 80 of the GVGCast. I'm once again your host for today, Ash Paulson, and I'm joined by my amazing GVG partners, Derek Bittner and Daniel Alba, who is in the tub. Finally, we've finally gotten the Dan Man in the tub. Daniel, I want to start with you. How are you feeling? Are you comfortable enough?
It's funny when you watch these guys for 3 years, which we'll get to, and you experience the first tub stream, and you're like, haha, that's pretty funny. I would never do that. And then here we are on the third
Yep.
year anniversary. And, well, I guess eating crow, I guess is the term. Here we are.
You never know
And
where
yet,
you're going to find yourself.
Life is
And
weird.
yet, life will the winds and the tides of life will take you to unexpected places. And you know what? I'm okay with this right now. I'm here with you guys. I'm here with GVG and the community. Hi everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I've never tested audio in the bathroom.
No, you obviously has the typical bathtub echo, but I think we're good. Ash, I do want to ask you real quick. Could you double
Okay.
check your mic because you came in pretty booming when we started there? I was like, are you on the right
Did
mic?
I? How about now? Is that better?
You
I
kind
moved
of
it a little closer.
you sound kind of fuzzy, weirdly enough. That's why I wasn't sure
Do
if
I
you're actually.
sound fuzzy?
Yeah, just a
Huh.
little fuzzy, but
Let
they say you
me.
sound
Oh,
fine. But
no, that's weird. I am. No, I'm on the right
Well,
mic.
maybe you gotta join me in the tub so we can balance the audio out.
That's
yeah.
that's what it is. I am on the right mic though, confirmed. So I don't know what's going on, man.
All right. Well, but no, it's fuzz
Well,
on other people, so it's just on my end. Hey, as long as it's
cool.
not for other people, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, my camera, everybody, has been on the fritz a little bit lately. So if my cam feed freezes, I apologize in advance. I'll try to get it working again, but there is a chance my camera might freeze. Hopefully not.
I
Camera,
feel that.
don't act up, camera. Don't do it. Anyway, so we have a birthday to so we have a lot of birthdays to celebrate actually because we haven't done birthday shout outs for 3 weeks almost because we had to take that last week off due to just some unforeseen circumstances. So first off, let's go ahead and show a bunch of our community members their birthday love. We've got so many. Happy birthday to Larkrin, who celebrated their birthday on Saturday, October 28th. Fangs, who celebrated theirs on Monday, October 30th. Kairudo on Halloween, the 31st. Happy birthday to Topaz Pikachu on Sunday, November 5th. Adam Davis on Monday, the 6th. And then Soniku, who's celebrating their birthday today. So happy
Ah, happy
birthday
birthday.
Oh,
to all of you. Happy
happy
birthday, happy
birthday.
So
belated
many birthday wishes.
yeah. It's been a few weeks since we've done these, but then of course the other birthday we have to talk about, the proverbial elephant in the room, is ours. We just turned 3 yesterday. Happy third anniversary, you guys.
Kind of forgot about that one, didn't we? It's just
Honestly, life has been so wild lately that I didn't even I thought about it a few days ago and I was like, oh, I gotta like do at least a Twitter post or something, and then life happened and I forgot again, and then one of our patrons, ATM in our Discord server, mentioned like our birthday and in our general chat, and it reminded me. I'm like, oh my god, it's the not. Where did this even happen? It's the ninth, and yeah. So I think we all kind of forgot, didn't we?
yeah.
Man,
I mean, I'm just working on the next video and trying to get the
Yeah,
usual stuff done. That's all. That was all going through my head. Yeah, work,
same.
work, work.
it has been 3 years since, was it the Pathos of Ganon? Was that the first video by GVG on this channel?
It might be because that's what I prepped in the
I
in the
think so.
meantime and hoping to get more out,
Uh-huh.
but then fatherhood.
Gosh, yeah. It's funny for you guys to celebrate the third, but it's not the third for me. I've been following you guys since the first day that the channel dropped in the first episodes of TNT, which that was a time back then, 5 days a
I
week.
know. I
That
don't know
was.
what we were thinking. I don't
Uh,
know what we were thinking.
we
Um,
were still in GX mode.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man.
We do
Yeah.
have a topical super chat that just came in, so I'll go ahead and read it out now by Dion Huen. I hope I got that right. Thank you very much, Dion, saying, hey, GVG Cast, yesterday was my birthday. Do you guys think that Mario Wonder will have a chance to be nominated to be Game of the Year? And Ash, do you like the music in Mario Wonder? So first of all, happy belated birthday, Dion. Tons
Happy,
of birthdays.
happy,
You
happy.
share a birthday with us, with the channel. That's awesome. So
Wow.
happy belated birthday. Um, I think Mario Wonder will make its way onto some. It's a tough year. It's a stacked year. I think Mario Wonder will find its way onto a few lists. I don't know if it'll,
I
how
don't
many
think
it'll
it'll be on the
actually
Game
win.
Awards list. I'll tell you that right now.
It might not
It's
be.
a
It
lock
might
in for
not be.
best family game. That's for sure.
Yeah. As for the
yeah.
music, that's actually, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but that's actually one of my drawbacks about Mario Wonder. I think the soundtrack is actually pretty weak, and that's one of the ways in which it kind of came up short for me. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. You know what hasn't come up short to me, for me, and never does, is our amazing sponsor, the Game Orb. The Game Orb is a YouTube and Twitch channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. You can find over a whopping 235 hours of content on his YouTube channel, ranging from conventions in the last 2 years, Splatoon, Fall Guys, and even older videos like Super Mario Bros. 35, Portal, and Rocket League. If you want to support him on YouTube and or Twitch, we've got links to both his Twitch and YouTube channels in the description. And of course, I say this every time, but please do go subscribe, follow on both platforms. He has been so good to us, sponsoring us and supporting us at our highest Patreon tier from the very beginning. So that's like 3 years now. So seriously,
Yeah.
please do go
Wow.
show them all the love on both YouTube and Twitch. And thank you so much, Game Orb.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
So,
much.
obviously, we missed last week due to some unforeseen circumstances. By the way, everyone else says hi. Steve is just caught up in a lot of work. He's good. He'll be back next week probably, but he's all good. Brandon, I think, is just caught up in work as well. And of course, John's asleep, or he better be, because it's like 1 a.m. So, but you got us here. And yeah, we missed last week. Guys, what are you playing? Derek, what have you been? We talked a little bit about this right before we went live. What have you been playing lately, man?
Mostly what I've been playing is I usually sometimes Game Club just takes up more of my attention. Not so much this past week, just because it was a shorter game, and so it wasn't too bad. But in my little bit of spare time that I get, I typically try to play a little bit of Sea of Stars, only because it's very easy for an RPG to just go, oh, all right, next save point I reach, that's when I'll stop. It's just a little bit
Yeah.
of each one. I've also been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 14 because I finally reached Shadowbringers,
Oh,
and
nice.
finally seeing what everybody was talking about with that one. And yeah, it definitely doesn't hit as hard if you haven't had all the build up, but yeah, I get it. It's definitely been
Yeah.
entertaining so far, and why it's all been a lot of fun. But yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing. I'm trying to think of other things, but yeah, I mean, of course, Mario Kart 8 DLC as well,
Of
and
course.
Mario
Of
Wonder,
course.
of course, I had to play and beat. But yeah, there's so much.
I am excited for you. Steve is actually also playing Sea of Stars right now, and I'm so excited for you both to progress through the game because, of course, I finished it several weeks back now, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts on everything
it,
as the story develops
It'll likely
and
be a while.
everything.
I just
Oh,
finished
I
the
know.
demo area.
Yeah, no, I
Oh
totally get it,
man.
man. I feel like I'm a little bit behind on my gaming as well. But before I get to that, Daniel, what have you been playing lately, man?
Oh boy. So yeah, we did yesterday we did a whole I did a marathon of streaming, and half of that was Mario Kart 8 DLC with some friends in our community and some of our viewers as well. We did that. I've been trying to play through Spider-Man 2. I started that
Nice.
the last weekend
Jealous.
as well. I only got to the point where Peter gets the symbiote suit, so I'm just like, wow, there's a there's still some game to go. And then another thing that happened this week was Genshin Impact had its 4.2 update for Fontaine, and that pretty much is the climax of that arc of the story that I was able to play through and finish that just the other day. So that was actually pretty exciting. And well, actually earlier today, I started because I forgot this was happening. Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn DLC dropped,
Right.
and
Oh
I've been
yeah.
playing through that. I kind of want to give some impressions on the channel at some point because it's so weird to have DLC for a game 2 years after the
I
game actually
know.
came out.
What are they?
Um,
Mario Kart 8?
it's it's so
Seriously.
weird
Especially after
weird
they said that they
decision.
weren't planning on doing DLC for it originally.
Yeah, I was going to mention like for the longest time, I thought Beyond the Dawn was going to be like an animated series because they love to
Right.
do that with so many of the Tales series, and not like a DLC or whatever. But yeah, that's it's been a lot. It's been a lot happening. I'm trying to keep juggle all these games at once, and I want to get back to Spider-Man and playing more of Tales very soon, so I can probably put some thoughts and impressions on the channel. I think that'd be cool.
Awesome. Well, I
Wow.
know, I mean, with you being our resident Tales of super fan, I know we're all really excited to hear your thoughts on Beyond the Dawn. I haven't really known what to expect from it just because I didn't play the original, but also it's such a weird time to drop DLC for this game, as you said, 2 years after the fact, and also just in the middle of all these high-profile releases. It's crazy. But before I get to what I've been playing lately, we just got an incredibly generous super chat for $50 from Kyle Myers. Oh my God, Kyle, thank you so much for your incredible generosity, saying, "Happy anniversary, guys. Thanks for sharing your good vibes for these 3 years, and here's hoping for many more." Well, we're planning on many more. We're not going anywhere, and you know, we love, obviously, being here with you guys and doing this and doing what we're doing here at GVG. So, but we couldn't do it without you and your incredible generosity. So thank you so much, Kyle. And also, thank you to our good friend and patron, Mix Becca's, for her $33.33 super chat. You know, we love you, Becca, and you've been here with us since the very beginning as well. And you're always so kind, so generous, helping us out, moderating chat and everything. Thank you so much, Becca. Seriously. I'm going to read out the rest of the super chats we've gotten so far in a little bit, but really quick, what I've been playing is, well, I just recently 100%ed Mario Wonder earlier this week. It took me a little bit longer to finish Wonder than I would have liked, especially considering it's so short, but I've had 2 back-to-back trips recently. I had to go to Vegas for an event for my wife. She walked for her graduation for her 2nd degree. She's super smart, way smarter than I am. So she had a walk. She had to walk for her degree in Vegas. So we spent the weekend there, and then I did a convention appearance with my dad at Rhode Island Comic Con last weekend. So I've been doing a lot of traveling, been kind of busy, but I did finally finish 100%ing Mario Wonder, and you know, it's a fantastic game, but it did kind of come up short for me at the end of the day in certain ways, like the soundtrack, like I mentioned earlier. And I just kind of wish even the post-game challenges had been a little bit harder. It's just it's one of the easiest Mario games I think there's ever been. Still a great game, but I don't know. It didn't quite match up with Mario World or Mario 3 for me. So that's just personally how I'm feeling about that. I do...
Funny enough, if just to advertise this, the video I'm working on is our kind of the GVG ranking of every single Mario platformer. I'm hoping I'm going to be working on that later this evening, so I'm going to try to keep this moving so I can actually hopefully have it ready for tomorrow. But yeah, so you can see how us sort of putting together all of our personal rankings and how that came out.
Yes. Definitely looking forward to that, because we all ranked them personally, and then Derek collated everything and is working on that video, so definitely look forward to that. Speaking of rankings, I've also been playing of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Wave 6 DLC. I did a launch stream for that on Wednesday, and that's been a lot of fun. But one other game, and we do have our Wave 6 tier list rankings out on the channel now, so definitely go check those out. But one other game I want to shout out that I just finished, if you aren't already aware, one of our Patreon tiers is Fight a Partner. And that means that once a month you can choose a game to play with any one of us, and we just play for like an hour and change. And our awesome patron, Aramis Baramis, has been playing the Silver Case, or basically has been having me play the Silver Case with them every month for the past year. We've been chipping away at it, and we finally finished it earlier this week. And man... I mean, it's Suda 51, so obviously you know what you're going in for something unhinged. But man, even knowing that, the Silver Case is wild, you guys. And if you're ever in the mood for a completely unhinged visual novel type experience, very creepy, very odd, atmospherically cool, you got to check it out. Like, the Silver Case is wild. We're going to be going right into Flower, Sun, and Rain next month. I'm super excited about that. So yeah. Definitely check us out on Patreon, and if you like the idea of playing a game of your choice with us every month, check us out at the Fight a Partner tier. But yeah, the Silver Case, really cool, and I did just finally finish that with Aramis Baramis, and man, that was wild. So yeah, well, let's go ahead and read out the rest of our super chats that have come in for now, and then we'll move on to a little news for the week. So first off, we have $20 from Disney Duncan. Thank you so much, Duncan. Yesterday was a great yesterday. First, I heard that the SAG-AFTRA strike ended. Then I saw the Marvels and loved it, and then spent the rest giving people train rides and popping eyeballs because they didn't get pictures of Spider-Man. Well, obviously, we're super happy to hear about the SAG-AFTRA strike ending, and I'm actually going to be going to see the Marvels with my wife later tonight, and I'm super excited. Glad to hear you enjoyed it. Me too. I've been excited about this one in particular. So I'm also really hearing good things about season two's finale of Loki. I haven't even started season 2 yet, but I've heard really good things. Next up, Fangs the Wolf with $12.25. Thank you so much. She has unthawed and awakened. Mariah Carey hungers. It is that time of year. Thank you so much,
Time for
Fangs
her
the
to get
Wolf.
paid.
Yep, I love it. Jacomon with €2. Thank you, Jacomon. Happy 3rd year anniversary, you guys. Well, thank you very, very much. And then we got $5 from Leo Flo. Happy 3rd anniversary. Which series would you rather get licensed for Nintendo devs to take a crack at it? Sonic, Mega Man, or one of your choice? Well, first of all, thank you for the anniversary love, Leo, and for the $5. Obviously, you know my answer is Mega Man. Sonic is getting a billion games already, and I'm super happy because I love Sonic. But Mega Man's getting nothing right now. So yes, I would love Nintendo to take a crack at Mega Man. What about you guys?
Uh, I mean, probably go with Mega Man at that point, just to see what Nintendo could do. I'm not sure who they would choose because Nintendo doesn't really have a game like that, like Mega Man, sort of that action
Not
platformer.
not as such, really. I mean, yeah, Mario would be the closest, and that's not the same thing at all. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that specific style is something we don't really see from Nintendo. But at the same time, I'm really curious to see what kind of polish they would give to a game like Sonic, because
yeah, that's true.
they might need it from the games that they play. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you very much for that. We also just got a first ever super chat from Tilly the Lad for $20. Thank you, Tilly. Happy birthday, GVG. You all have given me countless hours of free and fantastic entertainment. This felt like the least I could do. Cheers
Oh,
and
thank
good
you.
vibes. Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Tilly, and it is an
Yeah.
honor to have you in our audience. Thank you very much for your kindness
Yeah,
and
thank you.
generosity. And then one more for now. Duncan is back with two more dollars. Deadpool 3 is the only MCU movie next year. Yeah, the MCU is going to be kind of on an off year next year. It's going to be a little weird, but
I
Deadpool
mean,
3 is going to be
Weird.
like,
probably good to give it a little bit of breathing room, so
it
it
has been a
doesn't
little
get
bit
Finally
much with
catch
all
up.
a
the
little
series.
oversaturated a bit. So
Yeah.
I think to give
Although
it.
it doesn't Echo start next year? Is that
I mean, they
debuting
still
next
have the
year? Is
TV
that
series, but
the
as
TV
far as
series, just the
movies,
movies? Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for that, Duncan. And all right. Well, of course, as always, I'll read out other super chats later in the show as they come in. Thank you all for your generosity. But for now, we've got a little news to talk about. And of course, the big one. You all know what the big one is. The Zelda movie. Miyamoto, out of nowhere, on a random sleepy Tuesday afternoon, Miyamoto just rushed out a tweet out there saying, "Oh yeah, I've been working on a live-action Zelda movie with Avi Arad, and I've been working on it for 10 years, and I don't know how that isn't a bigger deal. I figure that's the kind of thing you're going to want to scream from the rooftops, but no, he just kind of snuck it out there." And I got to do a discussion already with Steve and our friend Rebecca Stone from Zelda Universe and Twinfinite, which is on the channel now, talking about our hopes and expectations and some casting ideas. But I want to hear from you guys. Daniel, Derek, you didn't get to be on that discussion, so I assume you guys have been thinking about this a little bit, and I want to hear your ideas, your thoughts. Daniel, Tubman, let's start with you. How are you feeling about this confirmed live-action Zelda movie that is in the works?
I can't believe that Miyamoto would just tweet and say, "This is Miyamoto," like he's from behind enemy bases,
I
saying,
know,
"I'm working on a Zelda movie. Okay, bye," and then just has it, just lets
right?
the internet go on fire from there.
Yeah,
But like it didn't feel real. It's a funny story with that actually. Me and Brandon were on Good Vibes Arcade. We're streaming, playing Ocarina of Time, like a 2-player randomizer together, and then we see a name that we don't see too often in chat. Forrest Minish says coming out of lurking to say, by the way, live action Zelda movie has been announced, and Brandon and I are just in shock and awe, just like, are you serious? Which is like, I know she wouldn't kid about something like that coming out of nowhere to tell us. So I'm just the divine word was spoken to us, and so we both check our phones. I think she clipped that moment that we learned that actually it's where you can see our live reaction if you look
yeah.
for it. And we were just like, oh my god, this is actually happening. This is this is happening
There's no
live
drill.
action. There's directors that have been announced, and people have been speculating like crazy. But like the initial thing is, I guess, because if this was like 20 years ago and we were in that era where animation was the more popular form of entertainment for this kind of medium, like with Disney and other such like films of like that kind of fantasy world, I feel like we would have seen something animated instead. But
Right.
now we're in like this era of like big budget superhero movies, high fantasy, that sort of thing, with like Lord of the Rings and that such. And I guess live action makes sense for this time period in which entertainment and media in Hollywood is working and turning towards. But yeah, I would have really loved it if it was like something that was more 2D animated, because one of the problems I think is that when you see games like Zelda, there's so many art styles, but also a lot of these characters have very unique designs and proportions that you can easily convey a lot more easily with animation. And when you turn that into live action, you run the risk of everything just looking like generalizing everything across the board, and it might potentially lose that identity. And which is I guess I'm a little bit afraid of that once we start seeing things. Like, it's gonna be cool to see how they handle, like, if they have Gorons or Zoras in there, like how are they gonna have is it gonna be CGI? Is it gonna be people like partially dressed up? Like, I want to see how that kind of thing plays out in the future. But as far as it goes, like, it's super exciting, and we have probably up a lot of years to start speculating like what this is going to turn into as far as like
Oh yeah.
actors and the story. There's so many things to speculate about right now. But what have you been thinking about, Derek, about this the Zelda movie?
I think a lot of my feelings is going to come down to the reception to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because that is the
Yeah.
movie from the director is going to do, because he did the Maze Runner before, and that's really all he's done before this point is just those Maze Runner movies, which I definitely did not watch. But it's he's just not done a lot of movies. It's just yeah, the Maze Runner score Maze three Maze Runner movies, which I didn't even realize there was that many,
Yeah.
and then this Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Um, his movies in general don't have a great reception on that, but it's also like an adaptation of a book, and I don't know the quality of the book itself, so that's hard to tell as far as that's all concerned. But I'm very curious about that. AVR Rod producing, I mean, it is what it is. He's done pretty much only superhero movies as far as producing, and that, he's starting to get into um, anime and video game stuff, because he did Ghost in the Shell, he did Uncharted. He has the the highs of
Talk about
Spider-Man
extreme.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2, the original Spider-Man 2. But he also has the lows of uh, Elektra and Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver
Morbius.
Surfer, Morbius,
The hit film
Brat,
Morbius.
Bratz. On here, I'm seeing something called Robo Sapien Rebooted.
Jesus. And
So
the remake of Ghost in the Shell, the live action
yeah,
Ghost in the Shell, which also it's definitely the extremes on both ends, right?
yeah, it's
Oh
all over
yeah,
the place. The writer, I'm not. We'll see how the writer does. They did both Jurassic World and Detective Pikachu. Detective Pikachu is fun enough, but I'm not sure which one they'll like. How we'll exactly get this. There's a lot of like unknowns in here and how much influence Miyamoto has, but I don't know. I honestly I'd feel more comfortable if it wasn't Miyamoto helping out with the story, or at least I hope one of the ones helping out with the story is, I'm blanking on his name, but he basically was the one that started injecting Zelda with story and giving it all of its interesting um, uh, aspects to it, I guess is the best way to say that. Yoshiaki Koizumi. He's the one that put all the
Yes.
oh
weirdness
yeah.
in, it, like hid the fact that he was putting more story into Link's Awakening and all that
It's so
stuff,
making
and trying to and coming up with all the odd characters of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and coming up with the whole concept of the moon falling. Like, get that man
basically
to
Oh yeah,
making it interesting.
yeah,
definitely.
because if it's an original story from him, okay, I'm
Yeah.
down. We'll see what it's all about. Like I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable with Koizumi behind the wheel. As far as whether to do an original story or an adaptation, honestly, I think it makes sense for them to, with how popular Breath of the Wild is, to go off a Breath of the Wild adaptation. But Ocarina of Time is more establishing in that way for a lot of the classic
Yeah.
elements. So I'd honestly think an Ocarina of Time movie
Hmm.
would maybe make a little bit more sense. I don't know. This one is very much up in the air to me. Like there's a lot of Legend of Zelda was always going to be difficult because people have a very firm idea of what should be Zelda, and how do you adapt that? I mean, you want to have dungeons, but we don't want to have Link just going through a dungeon silently for how long. Like,
Right.
honestly, I start reading up on those mangas and see how well they adapt it.
Mm-hmm.
So Vash in our community had a discussion with me and Brandon uh, about this whole topic, and we had some pretty cool and interesting points come up during that. And yeah, Ocarina of Time is definitely like the classic, like genuine, like the most classic tale of Zelda that could be told. Boy coming of age, saving the princess, going to save Hyrule, defeat Ganondorf, and go to all these places to see all these locales. It makes the most sense for a movie adaptation. I feel like if they did something akin to Breath of the Wild story, I think that would be more episodic. Like you'd be able to see Link
That
traveling
feels
to
like
these
a
different locations,
TV adaptation.
and like he's like visiting these different locations to help the people of this like area, or it could be something about it could be saving the neighbor region or whatever what would have you, or it could be something very just small and more intimate and subtle, like just hanging out with somebody and helping them with their problems. But yeah, one of the coolest things I've always had wanted to talk about it. If they ever did anything beyond this in the future, like if it was like something episodic, I think Majora's Mask would be absolutely perfect for something that's by the episode. Every episode, just focus on one of the main characters, like one of the side characters of that story. Have them follow through that. You can see like a little clock in the corner of the screen that shows what time of day and what day it is,
I like that.
and as things go along, so you can kind of keep track. And yeah, it's like some episodes are just about Clocktown or people around that area, whereas like an episode about the ranch, because that's probably my favorite side story. And then there's actually the major episodes in the swamp, the canyon, the ocean, and the mountain, kind of interlaid in there. And I think that would be the best way to introduce that. But yeah, there's definitely games that lend themselves more to the movie format than episodes. So it's funny because like I think Age of Calamity would have been perfect for a movie. That's like the setup right there, and it's such a good chance for them to explore more of like the champions and so on.
It's not impossible because our first Pokemon movie was based on Detective Pikachu, so.
Yeah. There's so many ways that they could take this, and like if they do a movie about Ocarina of Time, that's like our chance to see more things that we don't see in the game itself. Like what happened in between those 7 years? What about the whole story with following Sheik a little bit more? Like get more backstory on that character. The whole war that led up to Link being left with the Great Dick Tree. There's so many parts of this that you can add on and flesh out that world with, but like it's so much that's up in the air until we actually get any confirmation for what the story is going to lead on.
Right. And it may be an amalgamation of various, borrowing from various Zelda games. It may be a completely original story. Who knows? Derek, I'd mentioned this in our discussion, but I agree that I think Ocarina of Time, if they were going to adapt a game, I think Ocarina would be a good starting point. Not only because it's, such a well-known classic Zelda story, but also because, you have the main puzzle pieces. You have the Triforce, Link, Ganondorf, Zelda. You have those, obviously those core pieces. But then you've also got that kind of emotional human underpinning of a child losing his childhood, right? The loss of childhood innocence. Link going to sleep for 7 years and literally losing his childhood. And, if you get the right actor, since it's a live action movie, you get the right actor to explore those themes of childhood loss. That could be a really interesting emotional underpinning for his character, I think, as the character of Link in the movie.
I think if you're going to do an Ocarina adaptation, it needs to be 2 movies.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
sort of the best way to handle it. But will they do that way? I don't know. That's why I think original story is more likely. They can streamline the whole idea way better.
Yeah.
So,
and that's essentially what the Mario movie did. It's all these characters that we know and love, and all these concepts from various Mario games that we know and love, kind of thrown into a blender.
Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, I wish they'd adapt the story of Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Brothers 3." Like, it's the same story, just different gameplay setups. They
except for Galaxy, I guess.
Very different from, a Zelda game. But either way.
Before we move on, I do want to get some thoughts. So one of the things we talked about in our discussion, of course, is casting, and that's the hardest part. I think it's so hard to really actually envision live
Hmm.
actors playing, especially Link. And I think, but we threw out a couple of ideas like Saoirse Ronan for Zelda, Dave Bautista for Ganondorf, Timothy Chalamet for Link, like just spitballing some ideas. Do you guys have any casting choices in mind that you either think would be wacky or would be really fitting or that you're hoping for, not hoping for? I know a lot of people are like, please God, not Tom Holland for Link. That's not going to happen, I don't think.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh my
Jeff
gosh.
Burns says Tommy Wiseau is Link. I am there. I am there. Day one if Tommy Wiseau is Link. But yeah, any casting choices you guys have in mind?
I saw a
I'm s-
suggestion for an actress I don't know if I've ever heard of, but she looks perfect for the role. I'm trying to find it now.
Okay.
I'm so bad with live action anybody. Like honestly, I'm the
I
last
understand.
person to ask about that sort of information. But I remember the one thing that came in mind first of all, while we were still streaming the other day was, oh, you should get Idris Elba as Ganondorf. And I know that's not even an original thought, but that
I've
just
seen
seemed
that
like
route.
something that would that would be the way.
Hmm.
And if I know you guys mentioned in your discussion too, but if she hadn't already been playing animated Peach, Anya Taylor-Joy could probably fit that as well, the role of Zelda. But the thing is, like, you have to have somebody that is young enough to kind of fit that role, and not have someone that's older than
Yeah.
like the teenage ages of Link and Zelda. So
I see
Hmm.
both
that's a tricky one.
Jason or Tunjay and our very own Brandon Miracle in our live audience chat saying Zendaya for Zelda. Hell yeah. I love watching Zendaya in everything she's in. I think that would be a great choice for her, or for that role. Um, there's Florence Pugh as Zelda, says Disney Duncan. You know what? That works. I could see her as Zelda. That definitely. I mean, she might be a little bit older for the role, but I can still see her. She has the look, for sure. What were you gonna say, Derek?
Uh, there's an actress named Hunter Schafer. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh, I saw her tweet. Yes, I saw her tweet earlier.
Mm,
And for people who've never seen her, like, my God.
Hmm. Yeah, there you go. She looks exact. Yeah, you're right. Also, Brandon making a good
amazing.
point, saying just chiming in to say that I think it almost doesn't matter who's involved in the film because he thinks Nintendo will steamroll whoever they bring on to suit their vision. Yeah, I mean Miyamoto's not good. He's already said he's been working on this idea for 10 years. He's not going to take any chances with this
No.
for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
But
Anyway,
man, yeah, she looks
Oh
so
man.
much like her. Good
mm-hmm.
lord, that's crazy. So yeah,
You
it's
gotta
oh, go ahead, Daniel.
You gotta get Johnny Depp's Girahim. There's no other choice. That's the only one you can have for Girahim.
That's actually perfect for Girahim. You're so right. Yeah, it's
Well,
going to be interesting. I do kind of almost wish that we were looking at maybe like a CG or partially CG film because of what you were saying, Daniel. Like, how are they going to do like the Goroks and the Koroks and the Gorons and the Zora and everything. So I'm a little bit iffy on the live action, but I can also see it working. And I also know that Nintendo and Miyamoto aren't going to take any chances with one of their most important IP being brought to the big screen either. So
I think one final thought about that for
yeah,
now. I think if obviously this movie's gonna have sequels after that preceding it, I would think it'd be really cool if in the sequel whoever they cast as Ganondorf is gonna stay Ganondorf in the sequel, but they're gonna recast Link and Zelda as a different Link and Zelda in line with the series as they would do in the games. So I thought that would be a fun little thing they might do if that's a thing that they is that if that's a direction they want to take it, just to kind of be in line with the series itself.
right.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, but either way, we have quite a ways to wait to figure all this out because I think this is probably still at least a few years out.
Oh
Certainly a
yeah,
couple,
and
but
I'm gonna
yeah, we're not going to
even
be seeing this anytime soon. Even though this has been being worked on at least conceptually for apparently a decade, according to Miyamoto. But yeah, I think
years.
we got a ways to wait for sure. For sure. Well, yeah, I think we've pretty much mined that for what we can right now. So let's move on to something completely different, and I mean completely tonally different. and that is Grand Theft Auto 6, or at least I should say the next Grand Theft Auto game. So Rockstar have come out and confirmed that they're going to be debuting the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto game early next month. Happy holidays. How perfect for the holidays, right? Grand Theft Auto. And I want to get your thoughts. It's obviously, it's been a decade since GTA 5. I often forget that GTA 5 originally came out on the PS3 and 360. That's crazy to me. So it's been a decade since GTA 5, and I want to know, like, what could Rockstar do with GTA 6 that's different enough that would make you, I mean, I'm sure, everyone's excited anyway, but is there something that you'd like to see Rockstar do to kind of switch things up with GTA 6? Something that would make you sit up and go, whoa, didn't expect that. Derek, let's start with you on this, man.
It's hard to say because I actually skipped out on GTA 5 because I found myself in a pattern where I'd pick up a GTA, play it for a little bit, never finish it, and just did that for 3 games in a row. Enjoying what I played, but just never finding the will to finish it. And I eventually just decided to skip 5. I was like, all right, I'm probably good. There are rumors of it having a female protagonist this time around, which would definitely change it up in a lot of ways. And see what they could do with that. Hopefully, they can write it well as well.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, like I don't know. I honestly don't know what they could pop in here to really sell me on it. I like I'm trying to think like how do you make the gangster life interesting this time around, and I'm not sure. I think that's the big challenge.
Sure. What about you, Daniel? Do you have any? Are you particularly into GTA at all? Did we lose you?
He might be. He's
You
muted right
might
now,
have
so I
lost.
think he's muted right now. So I think
Okay,
he might
got
be
it.
talking to somebody else. So yeah, as
No
far
worries.
as that, what about you, Ash? What would
Yeah,
interest you?
so cool. Yeah, so I kind of what you already touched on, a playable female protagonist, as long as she's written well, I think would be really interesting, especially for a game ostensibly about crime. I don't think that's something that you would expect to see, and I think it's something that should happen. I don't know that I would expect Rockstar to go that direction if they're only having a single protagonist. I think they should, but I don't think they will. Now, if it's going to be like GTA 5, where they have multiple protagonists, then I could certainly see one of them being a female protagonist, and I definitely think that it would be a way to go. I think it's way past that time for that to happen in this series, and yeah, so that you kind of already touched on what I would do. I'm curious about the setting. I wonder if it's going to be another, is it going to be Liberty City again, like modern day, or are they going to do something like Vice City, where it's, a certain era that they're trying to capture? Like there's, so much they could do. Something like, 1920s-ish LA, like LA Noir could be an interesting setting for, a crime game, I think. It's, no matter what they do, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a hit. I think it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah.
GTA. I think it's pretty much guaranteed though that, they say early next month. I think that really means the Game Awards, because as we all know, the Game Awards is early next month. So that's probably where
Oh
they're going
boy.
to debut it. It wouldn't surprise me. Oh, sounds like Daniel's back.
Sorry, my dad keeps calling and I'm saying, please, I'm doing important tub business right now. Can you please stop calling me?
The
So this
most
should be fine
important
now.
of business. No worries, man. We're just talking about GTA 6. Do you have any thoughts on what might get you to sit up and take notice when we get GTA 6 revealed next
I
next
can't
month?
believe I can't believe we've been playing Grand Theft Auto as long as we've been playing Mario Kart
I know.
8. Like cars are forever, my dudes. That's just
It's
how it goes
wild,
in the
Yeah.
right?
world of video games. But yeah, like I haven't really played much of Grand Theft Auto. That's honestly not my genre of game to play.
I
But
hear
I
you.
realize how it's been so. I recognize how it's been so popular in the last decade, and this is going to be a big deal when it gets announced because there's just so much that they can do with that now that we have 10 years of technology behind us, and to see what that turns into, we're going to have one of the biggest selling games ever happening out here. So, um, I'm pretty sure, yeah, as you guys said, Game Awards is probably going to be the stage in which this gets announced. So, we're looking forward to that.
You know,
Yeah.
it probably won't happen, but it would be making it way more interesting to me because I'm thinking about the crime movies. Let's have a suave, charismatic lead as our character for once, rather than just a straight up psychopath. Because I'm thinking to like it's a silly comparison, but to the bad guys, that animated DreamWorks movie where the main character is kind of suave, kind of cool. You kind of like him.
Yeah.
Do something like that, or a Lupin the Third type thing, where you're just sort of this master thief and have that sort of other persona where you just have that smoothness to you. That would be a cool alternative to it. But of course, people like the ability to just go crazy, and
Hmm.
you know,
Needs a bit of a twist at this point, you think?
yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think so. I think there are a lot of interesting things they could do with it. No matter what, though, as I said, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a hit no matter what. It's GTA. This has been cooking for, several years now already. People have been past ready for the next game since, again, we've been playing GTA 5 for 10 years. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. GTA isn't really my cup of tea either, so it's not something I'm like clamoring for. Like, I can't wait to see it, but I am
Mm.
definitely curious as kind of an observer, just what they're going to do with it and what it's going to look like, and how they're going to take the protagonist designs and all that. So yeah, we'll see where that goes.
mhm.
So switching gears again, wildly, completely differently, from GTA 6 to Super Mario RPG Remake. That's coming out next week. How did that happen? It's already almost
Oh,
time for Super
I have
Mario RPG Remake.
4 games I'm playing. Please
I know.
stop.
How, like, literally a week from now, we'll be doing GVG cast, but we'll also be playing RPG Remake after that. And one of the big questions about it, one of the big mysteries, is has been its developer. And now that the game has leaked, and so at least someone out there has finished it, we now know that the developer is Art Piazza, and they are a longtime Dragon Quest developer. If you're not familiar with them by their name, and it's funny because we were all wondering, like, who the hell is developing this? Is it Square? Is it Nintendo? Is it any number of other, teams associated with either of those companies? And yet, in hindsight, Art Piazza makes so much sense, and it absolutely makes sense now why it looks so damn good, because they're such a talented studio, as proven by their work on Dragon Quest. But were either of you expecting Art Piazza to be the answer to this long-standing mystery?
I didn't know who they were until it was mentioned, and I looked at their lineup. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that was that reaction to that one, because like you see that they're date back to '96 where they helped with they definitely helped with porting and other aspects to it, because they helped port Dragon Quest 3 to the Super Famicom,
right.
7 and 4 to the original PlayStation. They did the third Torneko Mystery Dungeon game, Dragon Quest 5 on PS2, and then the one stuff that we know of, which is the 4, 5, 6, and 7 remakes on DS and slash 3DS.
Yeah.
They also have did Innocent Life, A Futuristic Harvest Moon, and that Opuna that John mentioned in his update. Like, there's good stuff here.
Yeah, they've also done the recent Romancing Saga 2 and 3 remakes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a longtime trusted partner of Square Enix's for sure. And so in hindsight, it makes sense that they're the ones behind Super Mario RPG Remake. And yeah, it's nice to have the answer to that question finally, because we've been wondering ever since the announcement, like, who the hell's making this thing? And I don't know why they were so coy about it, because there's no reason to have hidden it. Art Piazza is obviously a very talented studio, so it's a little weird they weren't more direct about it. But Daniel, any thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm frozen. It happened. It happened. I
Oh,
told you guys. I told you this would happen. Daniel, you go
frozen.
ahead and tell us your thoughts while I plug my webcam back in.
Yeah, it's funny when I wake up one day and I generally just discover news through John on GVG. Just printing this out because that's how I found out it was our Piazza. Um, yeah, I mean it's a good name, a good pedigree to handle a game like this that's handled other JRPGs in the Square Enix circle, and so yeah, it just kind of makes more sense now. I do wish they would like announce these sooner and just not have us wonder in the dark who's developing this for the last like who knows ever since it was announced, because there's no reason to. And when you think about it, um, yeah, it's just hilarious that we found out going into the game information inside the Switch itself, because there's no other way for us to really tell otherwise than that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they make. I love their work on Dragon Quest. I believe they also worked on like the sprite 2D versions of Dragon Quest 11 as
They
well.
did.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's really awesome. That they're very flexible in that way. So they can work with a whole bunch of different kinds of um, mediums and such. So yeah, excited to see and play this. And I'm going to be split between playing Super Mario RPG and Persona 5 Tactica, because that also comes out on the same day.
Yes, that's just
Lord
Isn't that
help me.
wonderful? Although,
God.
you could have been playing it earlier, Daniel, if you'd been on the up and up because they Atlas accidentally released it early on
Oh,
Steam.
on
It's not available
Steam.
now.
Oh my goodness! If anyone has a
God.
copy,
I'm still trying to
um,
get, I'm trying to fit in Spider-Man 2 and FF16 before the end of the year. I don't know. And of course Mario RPG now coming. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how I'm gonna fit all these games in, but I'm trying. I'm trying. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yes, obviously we're all really excited about the Mario RPG remake here at GVG, and I think we'll all be probably picking it up day one, I imagine, or very close to it, if not on day one.
oh yeah.
Um, all right, so one more thing before we move on to our Patreon topics. Nintendo had their latest financial reports coming in earlier this week, and just a couple of key numbers I wanted to pull out of here. The Switch is now at a whopping 132.46 million units sold, but even more impressively, really, Tears of the Kingdom, just a few months out from launch, is almost at 20 million. It's at 19.5 million copies just like what 6 months out from launch. That's something like that. 6 months. That's wild. But also, we've been talking about Mario a lot this episode, and there's more goodness for the red-hatted plumber because Mario Wonder has become the fastest-selling Mario-related title ever, with already 4.3 million units sold in the first 2 weeks of its launch. Now, this is limited to games released from the Wii and the original DS on. Doesn't include games from before that period, but still, this is incredibly impressive. All the same, 4.3 million units in the first 2 weeks of launch. Are we surprised? I don't think we're surprised.
The
Not really,
numbers
no.
just keep going up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah,
stop.
We all expected
exactly.
this.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously Nintendo's sales are cooking as always for the Switch generation. They're doing really well, but they also provided a little bit of detail on their future outlook for the Switch. They are remaining stubborn. They're talking about how the Switch will soon be entering its 8th year, which is why what does
Ooh,
time even mean anymore?
8 years.
Good God, the Switch is going to be entering its 8th year soon, and but they're saying they're going to continue to release titles for the original Switch. And expand user engagement with the original Switch, which to me reads as cross-play or cross-generation, baby. Like, there's no way we go into the Switch's 8th year, in my opinion. I'm not a soothsayer, but in my opinion, there's no way we get through the Switch's 8th year without the next generation hardware being introduced, whatever it's called, the Super Switch, Switch 2. But the fact that they're still sticking to their laurels and saying the Switch is not going to be bound by traditional definitions of a console generation tells me that yeah, okay, we're going to keep doing the Switch, but we're doing cross generation stuff now, right? Do you guys
It makes
feel the
sense.
same way?
Yeah.
There's no way
It's
we're
crazy
not
not
getting
to.
the Switch 2 next year, right?
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah, they'd be
No.
crazy not to just implement the fact that, we have this entire library. You have NSO, you have all these things that you already have established. Like, the Switch can play so many things and then just drop it all off and start all over from square one on a successor to this console. Like,
Yeah.
also because it's just, the format is just a winning formula for Nintendo, combining handheld and console, like, gaming just into one. We're still seeing it be such a successful formula that there are other platforms that are mimicking it at this point. We got the Steam Deck, we got to an extent PlayStation's Portal, which we're gonna have more information about soon if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's going to be something that it's going to be more interesting to see how this just continues to shape the landscape of how other consoles or competitors will continue to evolve and adapt this format, because Nintendo has just been trailblazing this for the last almost decade now.
It really is impossible to imagine that Nintendo change course. I mean, I feel like we've said this before, but developed themselves into a corner with this concept. I don't know that there's anyone out, well, there's always someone out there, but I don't think that a lot of people out there want to see Nintendo swerve away from the, console handheld
Mhm.
hybrid idea that the Switch kind of, debuted. And I certainly don't. It's really hard to imagine Nintendo going back to like a console only type design or a handheld only type design. The Switch just seems to be what they're going to be doing now.
Well, the thing is, they don't have any handheld teams anymore, so it's like
That's true too.
handheld
Yeah,
specific teams. They all just got
they all
combined. They
merged.
can't go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I do think we're going to have to see the Switch's successor next year, but this all reads to me like they're they're going to be doing some cross-generational stuff, which I fully expect, like Metroid Prime 4, for example. I fully expect that to be cross-generation at this point. I feel like there's almost no way it isn't. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see when we get there. But that is our news for the week. Of course, we've had quite a few more super chats come in. Thank you all so much. I'll read out a few of those, and then we'll get on to our patron topics for the week. First off, we've got, I'm going to combine these. We've got, several more super chats from Disney Duncan. First one for $2. Deadpool 3 is the only MCU. Oh, and I got that one earlier. My bad. Disney Duncan with $4 more and a pair of super chats asking, has anyone tried Omni-Man? Of course, meaning Mortal Kombat 1. I have not personally. I don't think any of us have, but I am looking forward to it because he looks crazy. Also asking, will Zelda come out before or after the Avengers Secret Wars after? I think we're several years out for Zelda personally. Yeah. Also, $4 more from Disney Duncan saying MK1 on Switch is getting better. Good to hear. I know they did release just a major patch recently, so that's good. And you have it on PS5. That's probably the platform I'd get it for as well, if if and when I do get it. So thank you for all that, Duncan. Super appreciate it. Blaystar25 with $5. Thank you, Blaystar. Happy 3rd birthday. Your videos always help me get through work, and I still use my TNT, Today's News Tonight mug for coffee to this day.
Oh, nice.
Here's to more years of good vibes. That brings me back. Today's News Tonight. That's crazy. It brings me back. But yes, also, and speaking of this, I've seen everyone in chat saying it. Wotaniac also demanded that I acknowledge it. Squire in our patron chat said, GVG, the 3rd birthday. Yes, we all know the 3rd birthday is like my most hated game of all time. I've seen all your jokes in there. I was trying to avoid it, but I can't. Yes, the 3rd birthday. Ha, ha, ha. Very funny, everybody. Next up, Zombie Joe with $4.99 saying, you didn't connect it to the super chat, but you said happy anniversary, guys. Thank you so much, Zombie Joe.
Thank you.
Super appreciate it. Also, another first-time super chat from Leona Koze, or Koze. Thank you so much, with $1 Canadian and 39 Canadian cents. Thank you so much. It is an honor having you in our audience, and thank you for the first-time super chat, Leona, with just a cool sunglasses emoji. Next up, Beanie TA with $10. Thank you. Congrats on 3 years. I followed you since the pre-Smash 4 days, and it's awesome to see your independent success. Also, as a podcast fan, shout-outs to Ash for posting this to podcast platforms later. Well, thank you very much. Yes, that is one of my little weekend duties every weekend as I prep each show for podcast services. And yeah, so this will be going live on podcast services later this weekend. So thank you very much, Beanie. Next up is our good friend Aramis Baramis with $20. Thank you so much for your generosity, Aramis. Happy anniversary, GVG, and shout-outs to Ash for the shout-out. The Silver Case is such a great game. For a somewhat thematic question, silent or talking protagonist, which do you prefer? Here's to many more years to come. Personally, I can't... Talking. Most of the time, I can't stand silent protagonists. It can work. It's just most of the time it doesn't work for me. So yeah, talking. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I think for the majority of the time, I'd like to have our protagonists to have a mind of their own. If they are silent, then at least give us the option to kind of just peer into their own personality. Like games like Persona do that very well, I think, where you pretty much control like their attitude throughout the game. Like it's not completely just you; they still have their own personality, and projecting yourself to a silent protagonist can get kind of exhausting at times, honestly.
Yeah. Cool, and thank you for that, Aramis. And then one more for now, 10 pounds from Ross Krispies. Love that name. Thank you. This is Miyamoto. The Legend of Zelda live-action film will not feature voice acting and will use text box dialogue instead. I love it.
My gosh.
Return to silent
Miyamoto's...
Link
that's true.
Link will speak. He'll do like little short phrases intermittent throughout the movie. And those will be like really important moments, like when Metroid Dread, when Samus finally said something. You remember those moments. So I think they'll introduce something like that in this film. Yeah. But yeah, it could definitely be done.
Well, thank you all so much for your incredible generosity. I, of course, will read out any more super chats that come in at the end of the show. But for now, it is time for our patron topics for the week. And as a reminder, we have a Patreon, and we're here on YouTube members. If you support us at the producer tier or above on either platform, you can suggest topics like the ones we're about to discuss right now. And Daniel, the Tub Man, why don't you get us started this week, man?
Okay, I have it somewhere. I'm going to get it right now.
If you
mine comes from Blaystar25 saying, I'm going to try and truncate this. One of my favorite games from this year is Fire Emblem Engage, but despite having some of the best gameplay in the series, a lot of people didn't like the story. and label Engage as a whole to be a bad game because of it. And you're just saying that you understand people play games for different reasons, but that it feels weird that a lot of the times, at least from what you've seen, games with a good story but okay gameplay tend to look more favorably than a game with good gameplay but an okay story. I'm curious to hear your takes on gameplay versus story in games. And are there any games that you don't care for the story but you love the gameplay? This is funny because one of the ones that I feel like resonate the most, and actually both at the same time, would probably be Genshin Impact because like I do enjoy the gameplay. It's not like your typical your free to play game where you can just hit autoplay and it does it for you. You have to actually consider team composition, elemental reactions, and all this sort of thing beyond the whole grindy part of the game. But along with like really interesting story beats, like the main story, there are times when a lot of the side stories and all the fluff, it's too much. The it suffers because it's mostly a direct translation from the Chinese language, and so they have to. You could say a lot more in the Chinese language with a lot less characters, and so it kind of bloats it a bit in the English language, and so you can't skip anything, and there's no skip scene. You can rarely skip like through some parts of the dialogue because they have to animate before they can skip it, and so there's some scenes where they take like too many lines to get through part of the story, and I just kind of my eyes glaze through it. If it's voice acted, I'll more than likely listen and pay more attention to that. But a lot of the time, it's just so much fluff, and I'd rather get to the gameplay itself. And it's kind of a double edged sword in that way. But yeah, I think there are some other games in which I think I value the gameplay more than the story itself. Like, I guess you're more high octane, like action RPGs. There are some in which I don't really mind the story as much. Than getting to the gameplay itself. I know someone said, and it made me think about it too. Not that it's a bad story or anything, but Bayonetta's is
I
so
was actually
like
going to
over the
say that one
top.
for myself.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's like so over the top, like that vein of games. Like the gameplay is awesome, but the story is just a vessel to get to one section of the game to the next. Honestly, um, but yeah. Before I take any more, would you guys like to say your answer?
Ash, you go next because I got to think of a new one.
No worries. So for me, I mean, this really comes down to genre. Like it depends on what my
Mhm.
expectations are going into a game in a certain genre, or even the game itself. Like when I sit down to play a Mario game, I'm not going in expecting a great story. I expect great gameplay, and so it doesn't bother me if a Mario game doesn't have a great story because it doesn't really need one. Now that said, with FF7 Rebirth coming out next year, early next year, I'm obviously really excited about that. But I'm more excited. I'm excited for the gameplay, but I'm really excited for it from a story standpoint because it's a
Mhm.
JRPG, it's Final Fantasy VII, it's character driven. Like that's something where if the story sucks somehow, I'm going to be really disappointed. So I don't think it's you can't really paint with a broad stroke here, with a broad brush, right? It really depends on not just the genre of games you're talking about, but also the games individually. I'm not going to be looking for a good story from rhythm games generally, right? But
Mhm.
RPGs, yeah, I am. Character-driven action games, yeah, like The Last of Us, has great gameplay, but I think arguably it lives and dies by its story. And if the story sucks, I'm not going to be as into it. Like Last of Us Part 2, I played it primarily for the story, and I would have been disappointed had that sucked. So it really does depend on the genre and really the game for me. A game to answer your question, Blaze Star, are any games that you don't care for the story but love the gameplay? Breath of the Wild is a recent example. Tears of the Kingdom, fortunately, did it a lot better. I think they really improved on the storytelling in Tears of the Kingdom. Not completely. There are still some issues I have with it, but generally, the story is way better in Tears than it was in Breath of the Wild. But with Breath of the Wild, as disappointed as I was in the story, it almost didn't really matter. I still played that game for over 100 hours because the gameplay was so transformative. The gameplay was so incredibly arresting. I was just pulled into that version of Hyrule so completely and wholly that it really almost didn't matter that the story was disappointing. So, yeah, that's a recent example for me, for sure. What about you, Derek?
Hmm. Uh, I'm trying to think on. I still haven't come up with a proper answer for, you know, basically a game I didn't care for the story but loved the gameplay. I mean, other than the many examples you have, most action games, like we say Bayonetta, Devil May Cry kind of falls into that same uh, category where, you can have fun with the characters, but the story itself is just whatever. And I think it matters more for RPGs because you need a good cast or a good story to carry you through all those hours in order to actually enjoy the gameplay. Because okay, you're getting stronger, you're seeing yourself improve, but you're stuck with these characters that you really don't like or doing things that you really don't care for, and you're like, So, yeah, it's just tricky in that way where I think it definitely affects RPGs more. And I can put up with less than stellar gameplay if the story hooks me. It's just that it's just, I don't know, one of those things. But I've also come from I like books. So it's very much that. What about the Resident Evil series? Well, that has the campiness effect. The stories may not be good, but they're fun. And I think that's where you kind of come from that. There are bad ones, but also the ones with the not great stories tend to be kind of fun. Although I guess for a lot of people thinking of that way, Resident Evil 6, a lot of people when you take it away from being a Resident Evil game, find the gameplay to be quite fun. But the story's rock stupid and is way too action heavy for what it is. So, yeah.
Right.
So there's
right. I guess it also just depends. Like you come into this game expecting, you should be realistically expecting what kind of gameplay or story to expect. Like if you're doing a visual novel, if you're going to play Ace Attorney, obviously you're going to not be there for the riveting gameplay. You're there for the story.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And to kind of turn Blaze-Star's question into its reverse, Game Belt Summit made a great point in our YouTube chat here. Xenoblade 1, I'm for the story, not the gameplay. And I would extrapolate that to the whole Xenoblade series. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was my game of the year last year, and it sure wasn't because of the gameplay, as good as it may be if you're into the battle system. That wasn't why. It was because of the story, and that's Xenoblade for me in general. So there are games out there that I care only for the gameplay and not about the story at all, and the reverse. I really am just there for the story, and the gameplay is just a vehicle to guide me through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That Alpha Line's asking why I didn't mention Nier, because the story is good, the gameplay is whatever, but this is the opposite. What's this game where the story is but the gameplay is good?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
Trust me, having played the original Nier, that story carries you through.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you for that question, Blaze-Star. And Derek, you're up next, man.
Mine comes from the entire state of Wisconsin. They've all come together and asked this one single question of us saying, what obscure game or series have you played and enjoyed that you feel like absolutely no one else ever has ever even heard of, let alone played? As an example, a game that comes to mind for me personally is Contact for the Nintendo DS. There's not really a fandom for the game. It never really gets brought up, and there are very few videos about it. So I didn't really look at this too closely as far as looking that stuff, that sort of thing up. And the thing is, immediately we're seeing Codename Steam in the live audience, and I would agree with you but there is that very passionate fan base for Codename Steam. You have all that. But so even though it just relatively recently got re-released, you still don't hear people talk about this game too much. And I really enjoyed it. And actually, it helped kick off my love of strategy RPGs. This was sort of the game that made it click for me and go back to other RPGs. Or actually, it was a sister series to it. But this was one of the ones very early on that made me love it. And that is La Pucelle Tactics.
Oh, I have that.
For the PlayStation 2. I just happen to have it nearby. It is a very, very fun game with interesting, like typical NIS gameplay. And you see them all, it has that fun combination of strategy RPG, but also when you actually get into the battles, it's more traditional RPG somewhat with how it's from a side view and see how it actually is combat. It's just a fun little story. Really do enjoy it. And you just never see anybody talk about it. Disgaea is just where it's at. Everybody talks about Disgaea. The characters might show up as DLC in the Disgaea games, but the game itself never gets discussed.
True.
And
that's a good one. Am I frozen? Sorry, guys. I told you this would happen. Go ahead and discuss La Pucelle while I fix this yet again. Sorry, everybody.
What about you, Daniel? What's your obscure game?
Oh man, short and dumb answer. Vector Man on Genesis. I love Vector Man. If you don't like Vector Man, you're wrong.
Oh,
I played Vector Man. Yeah. Vector Man's great. You don't.
I love that
I
game.
don't know if I doubt it'll ever come back, but yeah.
I
Vector
was
Man.
like, man, why isn't Vector Man in Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed? He can become the plane, the boat, and the cart just by morphing into it. That was a perfect opportunity. Um, yeah, I had that game way long ago. Like, I still have my physical Genesis cartridge. I don't know why I had it along with all my Sonic games, but it was there, and I played it, and it was very hard, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It looked amazing by that time. It was the way he moved was so fluid and cool.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorites way back then, and I couldn't talk about anybody about it because no one had it, and I was always mad about it. I want to do a whole video on Vector Man one day.
It got a sequel.
But gosh, yeah, it did. I'm trying to think of like another game that is not known too well that I really enjoy. I guess I'm just a
Scrub.
mainline scrub over here. I saw in chat a moment ago, BC King of Games was saying for you it was Mario Hoops 3-on-3. I did play that a whole
Nice.
lot when that came out on the DS, original DS, and my memories were rekindled when I saw a video on Nintendo Life, not too long ago as well. And it's such a fascinating game for a sports game. It's such a unique one. And also partly because there's just a weird combination of Square Enix being involved as well. Because you could also play as the ninja, a cactar, pretty much a Mario Princess rendition of the White Mage, which was also a really
Honestly,
cool
that's one of the
design.
best designs of the White Mage
I
I've ever
agree.
seen.
Yep.
I want that to come back in some shape or form. But yeah, such an absurd game. And the art was done by the artist that does the character designs and portraits of the characters in The World Ends With You. So I thought that was just such a cool mixture of things put together into one game. That's definitely one that I wish was talked about more. And that I wish there was Mario and basketball. I would have never pictured I would get so involved in that. Game got really hard, but I
Did it?
still really enjoy playing that way back then and just tapping the screen to get those coins and shooting hoops and getting like 50 points in one shot. It's just ridiculous.
Mm.
I still want a Mario hockey game. I'm still waiting for Super Mario Slashers or whatever they're going to call it. I don't know, but I want a Mario hockey game, man.
Sounds like a Dead by
Super
Daylight version
Super
of
Mario
Mario.
Puckers.
Yeah. Those are great examples for both of you. For mine, before now, I would have said Illusion of Gaia because I always talk about how much I love about that game, or talk about how much I love that game. But I feel like it's kind of gotten its moment a little bit more recently. I see more people talking about that making like their favorite of all time Super Nintendo game lists. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper for this one. And this is a game that I actually reviewed back at the old place that really stuck with me because it's a game that I really enjoyed. And actually, Derek, it shares both a genre and an overall theming with your game, La Pucelle, and that is Stella Glow for the 3DS. This is a very anime-themed, very anime,
Yeah, it is.
anime-themed strategy tactics RPG for the Nintendo 3DS, developed by Imagi Pak. Is that how you say it? Imagi Pak? Imagi Pak? Not sure. And published by Atlas USA. This is before, I think, they merged with Sega. But it's just a really solid anime flavored strategy RPG for the 3DS, co-composed by Yasunori Mitsuda of Chrono Trigger fame. So not surprising that the soundtrack was great. It definitely has that harem anime quality where the main character is this rather plain male protagonist who somehow has all these anime girls falling head over heels for him, and they check off every typical anime girl personality trope that you can find. It's very tropey. But the game is a lot of fun. It looked great, sounded great, had a fun story. It stuck with me, and I've never heard anyone else talk about this game. I don't know how it fell in my lap to review back to the old place, but I'm glad it did because I probably never would have discovered it otherwise. And it always stuck with me. It's
I
a
had
great
a random
game.
Atlas contact at the time, and they just offered it up. Like, anybody interested?
Yeah,
There you
exactly. And it
go.
worked out. And as Mikhail in our YouTube chat says, yeah, Stella Glow is really cool, but yeah, it is harem anime the game, but it's really good. Yeah, it really is. So you got to know what you're getting into for that. But if you're cool with harem anime stuff, then it's a great game. And if you're in the mood for a 3DS strategy RPG that like 5 other people in the world have played, check it out because it's actually really cool. So yeah, that's my answer. Stella Glow, really cool game, and La Pucelle. I never finished that, Derek. Did you finish it?
No, I didn't because it gets kind of
Okay.
lengthy by the end and a
Okay.
little tricky. It's one of the it's another RPG on my list. It's like I got distracted and never got back to it.
Yeah, yeah. And then as you said, Daniel, Vector Man, obviously great games. Both of them, love them. But yeah, so that's those are our patron topics for the week. Thank you so much. And again, if you want to suggest topics for future episodes, like the ones we just discussed now, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/gvgaming, or right here on YouTube members. Just support us at the producer tier, and you can suggest topics for future episodes. All right, so we're just about done with episode 80, but we do have at least two more super chats, I think, that came in. The first one, or the second one is pretty great. The first one, Zombie Joe, with $5. Thank you so much, Joe. Got an amazing horror announcement this week. Chucky was announced for Dead by Daylight, and he's voiced by Brad Dourif. Tiffany's will be there too. I'm not sure who Brad Dourif is.
He's the voice actor of Chucky.
Okay. Oh, so he's just the longtime voice actor. Of
Yeah,
Chucky.
he's
Cool.
been in
So
other
there.
movies, of course. I don't know how Chucky will work in that because I know you have to hang up people on hooks, and I don't think Chucky's tall enough to do that. So
He's a short king, so you know. What are you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And, at that point, if we're gonna have short movie monsters get in there, we got to get the Leprechaun in.
Right. Yeah, I'm not as super I'm not super well versed on various classic horror franchises like Chucky and Friday the 13th and Evil Dead and all that. That's kind of been a big blind spot for me. I love horror, and so I don't know why I'm kind of not as well versed in those. But yeah, I'm glad that Chucky's being voiced by his proper voice actor. That's great. And then finally, all right, this is a test, you guys. There's one right answer to this to see if you get it right. Kaiser the Fighting Demon with $2 with a matchup saying Mega Man X from Mega Man X versus Optimus Primal from Beast Wars. Who would win? Obviously, there's a correct answer, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. I want to see if you guys get it. What's the answer, guys?
Am I gonna get fired if I get this wrong?
Yes. Capital Y, yes. You are.
18th birthday in the tub. I just
Oh,
drown myself
gosh.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think about it logistically. It's such an odd matchup.
It is, right? Yeah.
But X has defeated Robot Master, Mavericks of like a gorilla, so he probably has a good chance.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
literally what X does, right? He just destroys animal-themed Maverick android things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think X has the experience here for this, and just a weapon for every situation that Optimus Primal would put him in. So sorry, Optimus Primal.
All right, you guys both passed the test. We're good. Obviously, yes, the answer is Mega Man X. Clearly, he wins that matchup and every matchup because he's X. And then Disney Duncan, yes, you know what? My bad. I did miss one of your super chats. So Duncan just super chatted two more times saying, with $2 each, did you skip one of my super chats about Mortal Kombat 1 and My Little Pony? Yes, I apologize. I did miss that one. And you were asking if you were the only person in the world that likes both Mortal Kombat and My Little Pony. And you know what? The world is a large, wide place. I don't think you're the only
Probably
one. You may
not, because
No.
there were fighting game fans that made them's fighting herds. So I have to imagine if they're fighting game fans, they probably enjoy Mortal Kombat as well.
Yeah. So I don't think you're the only one. Definitely not. The world's a big place. Also, shout outs to our community member, Vedron, who just bumped their Patreon pledge back up to the Fight a Partner tier. So thank you so much for that, Vedron.
Awesome.
Look, I'll be sending you the Fight a Partner and personalized video response form for this month after the show. So thank you so very much for that. And then one more super chat from TuneJ723 for $2. Thank you. Netflix Avatar or Netflix Yu Yu Hakusho?
Oh,
Yu Yu
boy.
Hakusho.
I haven't
Not
seen
even
the
a
trailer for
question.
Yu Yu Hakusho, so I can't answer this question.
I'm hopeful for
Netflix.
both, but Yu Yu Hakusho seems to be like fast forwarding through things. Like they are getting through crap quick. They're definitely skipping arcs with that. So
Kind of like what One Piece is going to have to do, I imagine.
no, the One Piece is actually stuck relatively
It is.
close.
Has it really? Okay.
Sticking to
Do you
their
think-
guns
do you-
with that one.
Do
Yeah.
you think it'll continue to with the next season and stuff?
I mean, it's only one massive, like one major arc. Like you can really make that next arc in its own season pretty easily. I think.
Okay.
So
I'm at the final episode of One Piece live action. Really been enjoying it. Really been
Like the
enjoying it a
only
lot.
really big difference is as far as how the arcs are laid out for the One Piece was that Don Krieg was actually a big enemy that they fought. But I mean,
Ah, okay.
he's
Got it.
whatever, so it was like whatever.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was a Netflix Yu Yu Hakusho, so I
Yeah,
learned something
live
today.
action. It just the trailer just released today,
Okay, well, I
and that
watched the Avatar
I
trailer last night, and it was great. I
yeah,
thought it was
it's
great.
both have potential. I'm holding out thoughts.
Sure,
That is
I'll check it out tonight.
literally one of my favorite anime. So
Yeah,
I'm cautiously
Me,
optimistic
same.
of what's going to happen with this with this series.
It's a
But
Japanese
please make it.
production, so we'll see
Hmm.
how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am not a hardcore Yu Yu Hakusho fan, but I certainly like it. And I'm very much excited and interested to see how the adaptation turns out. And yes, as Seesaw24 reminds us, Scott Pilgrim is next week. Oh man, I can't wait for that. That is going to be so good. But anyway, oh, one more from Disney Duncan. Last second, the $2. Thank you so much. Hashtag Dogpool. Thank you very much, as always, for your generosity, Duncan, and everybody. This has been a wonderful third anniversary episode for us. Thank you so much for celebrating our third birthday with us. And we love doing this with you guys every week, or almost every week, as the case may be. We got to get it to our post show pretty soon, but as always, we have to give a special shout out to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make everything we do here happen. We could not do it without you and everyone in our community, so thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. But also, as always, we have to give an extra special shout out to all of our patrons at the executive producer tier and above, and those fine, amazing, stupendous folks include Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Blake, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedron, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Azran127, Black King, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Andrew Medeiros, Darchi, Becca, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Ryaner, Rain and Clouds, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Grantles, Ravelox, Rosa Pardo Bowling, hi Steve's mom, Skull Kid Tiger, Darksteel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jurassic, Derek, Colin, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Brendan Hesse, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakeland, Longboy Shiggy, Aramis Baramis, Kyle the Monarch, Dat Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Peyton Thiel, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Jung Ant, Ryan Hanley, The Game Jamie, Alex, and last but certainly not least, Zombie Joe. Thank you all so much. Thank you again for celebrating our third anniversary with us. We will see you next week for episode 81, and we are now out to go to our GVGcast patron-exclusive post-show. See you next week, everybody, and have a great weekend. Good night and good vibes. Bye.
Bye.
So we meet again.